we'll do some more NFL now. And we are joined by Jason Cole, Bleacher Report. And Jason with us here on Tiki and Tierney. Jay, how you been, buddy? What's happening?
Oh, everything's beautiful.
Yeah.
MC Hammer, though, I have my own little connection to him because the officiant who married me and my wife in Hawaii also served as the officiant on BET for the renewed vows of MC Hammer.
Nice.
So I feel a very strong connection to MC.
Hey, listen, I wasn't dissing him. I mean, he was the man.
Awesome. With the Zubaz and the whole thing.
Oh yeah, the shiny pants. Yeah, I forget. I didn't know that they call them Zubaz, but the real baggy. I got you.
The parachute pants.
The parachute ones.
He had it all going on for a while.
Oh, man, he was rolling in the money for a minute, no doubt. All right, so you're out at the Combine in Indy. A lot of stories. I want to get to I don't know if you actually reported this, but I do want to throw out how plausible in the NFL the possible three-team trade is. We'll get to that. But what's the biggest buzz pertaining to the Combine? Is it the kid who ran the 4.22, or is there something else?
Oh, look, I think it's because the free agency starts so soon. It starts this week. Now, in the past 3 years, there had been sort of this one big week break. And so free agency, again, took center stage here as the thing that people were talking about because there were so many meetings between teams and agents, sort of the classic non-tampering tampering that goes on all the time at the Combine. But it was earnest this time because people don't have a lot of time between now and when the legal tampering period starts on Tuesday and when players get signed on Thursday. It's all going to happen really fast. So you kind of have to get your ducks in a row here over the weekend. You may not put actual money on the table, but you're making it clear that you're going to be putting money on the table come Tuesday when you can start to work these deals out.
Yep.
So that was it. And Scott McLuhan, what's going on with him and the Redskins, that was huge buzz as well. And then the players become sort of a secondary part of it, even though they're the players.
Yeah, that is interesting, that dynamic. You know, you talk about McLuhan here. Obviously, part of that equation is Jay Gruden. And Tiki and I were talking about this on Friday, how, I mean, listen, the three most important positions, arguably, and be really tough to come up with a real viable argument against this, but the GM, the head coach, and the quarterback, the franchise quarterback, they basically have questions at all three, or they did. Now with Jay Gruden getting the 2-year extension, something that's never happened for Snyder getting past year 4, are you a little surprised at that, or is the industry pretty much expect that to come?
Well, we don't know what the contract actually says, because if you go back in time, there are, Dan Snyder has built buyouts into the contract. So it's a 2-year extension, but is it real money or is it not real money? So could they fire him again after 4 years and get out, completely from it? Or is it a real 2-year extension where they've really truly empowered Jay Gruden and said, look, whatever we do at any position, be that quarterback or punter or defensive line, whatever it happens to be, you're safe. If they've done that, then if they've actually done that and said that to Jay Gruden, then they have opened up the possibility that they're willing to trade Kirk Cousins. If it's not real, what they've just done is done a PR move, and Jay Gruden's still going to be fighting very strongly to keep Kirk Cousins because he believes that that's his best path to get to the playoffs and save his job long term. So we got some details here to find out about what that contract actually is.
Yeah, interesting. Talking to Jason Cole, Bleacher Report, NFL Insider, is out the Combine now. Without getting too deep into it, certainly not looking to embarrass anybody, but I'm sure that you've heard some off-the-record stuff about McLuhan, like I have over the weekend, and it's really not pretty. If you basically,
look, everybody knows that Scott has had a drinking problem. That's not a secret.
No, I know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I mean, actual examples where that drinking problem has actually come to fruition. I'm talking. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've heard the stories are floating out there. There's a story from the Senior Bowl about him not being in good shape, and the stories from players, at social functions, Redskins social functions during the holidays, giving him drinks constantly and not knowing that he had a problem, things like that. Yeah, I mean there are stories like that are out there. I think there's some truth. Yeah, I think there's some truth to both of those, prime examples, and I'm sure there's some other ones. And it's sad because if that's true, Scott has never gotten control of that beast, and it's really, really sad because he's a very good human being. Anybody who knows Scott McLuhan likes Scott McCloughan. He's an incredibly honest guy. He's energetic. He's fun. He's all of those things. But he suffers from a disease that affects lots of people that we know out there, and he hasn't gotten control of it. And so I hope that he can. I hope he can come back and be a productive general manager or some other kind of executive, because let's just put it this way. Even other GMs in this league will look at Scott McCloughan and go, he's the best at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of GMs who will look and say, that guy knows how to pick players, and I wish I had his secret. I wish I knew what he was looking at so that I could pick it out the same way that he does.
Yeah. No, well said. Certainly rooting for him. You know, there's a lot of clickbait out there. Some of it's real, some of it's not. It is what it is. But let's just say that, let's get to the possibility, if there even really is a possibility, of a 3-team trade. If you had 3 teams truly willing, I hear you snickering, to hammer out a deal, I mean, is it completely implausible? I mean, any life to this at all with Kirk Cousins and Romo and the 3 teams, the Niners obviously the third?
Well, look, it's all logical, all right? Because if you were the Redskins, and if you're Jay Gruden and you're Bruce Allen and Scott McCloughan, and you've come to the conclusion that Kirk Cousins is your guy going forward, and there's certainly strong thought among at least one of those people that Kirk Cousins is not the long-term answer, that you're saying, okay, Kyle Shanahan loves the kid, was part of drafting him, thinks he's sort of a poor man's Drew Brees. They've got plenty of cap space. They got the number 2 pick. That part of it works out. Even before you get there, however, if you're the Redskins, you have to find an answer at quarterback. Okay, so really, most people would say, oh, well, you trade him and then you get a new quarterback. No. You get a new quarterback and then you actually trade him. You just can't announce the fact that you've gotten a new quarterback already. You have to set that up behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, you have to find a way to get Romo. Now, that's where this all becomes a problem, because are the Cowboys really sending Tony Romo to Washington? When I asked a very high-level Redskins source about this on Saturday, he scoffed at me and said, "Are you serious? The Cowboys and the Redskins making a trade? Seriously?" He just laughed. And then we've seen what Jerry Jones said later on Saturday about that not being a possibility. That's never going to happen. So I just I seriously doubt that. I think at best the only thing that's going to happen is Tony Romo is going to find a way to force himself out in Dallas, so the Cowboys will cut him here and make it peaceable. And then Tony Romo will go against Jerry Jones's wishes and go to the Redskins and try and get his pound of flesh against the Cowboys. And that sounds great. It sounds interesting. The problem is that Tony's just built a brand new home in Dallas, and he and his wife have their 3rd child on the way.
Mm-hmm.
They would like to make Dallas their home. And it's really hard to make your home in Dallas if you're trying to one-up the Cowboys by going to the Redskins.
Yeah, but even then it would be short term. It's not like, think about this. I'm sure you've moved, and I've moved a few times now. Tomy's, I know not everything's about money. I certainly get that. If you're comfortable with your home in Dallas, then that's where you should be. But it's a little easier to navigate that when you got $35 million in the bank. I mean, it's not like you're going to go to the Redskins for 5 years.
Right, but I think the wife is happy in Dallas, and I think that's one of those things that if you handle yourself the right way, you're still Tony Romo, and you become an endorsement king in the city of Dallas and around the state of Texas,
mm-hmm.
and you don't ruin your name there. Sort of the way that Brett Favre kind of ruined his name in Green Bay and the entire state of Wisconsin for a few years, and then it took years and years before they finally made peace over the whole thing, and everybody forgave each other.
Yep.
So it's one of those things that, look, at the end of the day, do you really want to thumb your nose at your old team? Look, there's a great temptation to sit there and say, hey, that girl just dumped me, but I'm going to get myself in shape and I'm going to start dating this really nice girl and make sure that she sees that the old girlfriend sees the new girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a strong temptation to do that. It usually doesn't work out very well.
Well, the problem is the new girlfriend could dump you as well. Then you're really screwed.
Again, karma is whatever.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, final thing, talking to Jason Cole, Bleacher Report. 2 names, certainly under the radar, at least Kirk Cousins, Tony Romo radar, but that could really impact if they wind up with different teams, and I think one of them's guaranteed to. Tyrod Taylor, Mike Glennon. Real quick, what are you hearing on either?
Glennon's going to do really well here. San Francisco, Cleveland, Chicago, the Jets are all interested in Glennon. He's the most attractive in one way is that it's just money. You don't have to trade a pick or do anything like you would have to do with Garoppolo or Cousins. So that's possible. Tyrod Taylor, a lot of people like Tyrod Taylor, and a lot of people also say, look, he's a really terrific backup. He's one of those guys who is in the tweener mold. You would really like him as your guy who only plays 4 or 5 games a season in the best case scenario.
Yep.
But he's just good enough to start.
But why wouldn't they say that about Glennon? Is it just the size?
Glennon hasn't had a chance to prove what he isn't.
Yeah.
So it's, Glennon's been a backup, and everybody understands it's Winston, but they liked a lot of things. Tyrod's actually had a chance to play now, and you found out he gets hurt a lot, or he doesn't throw seam routes a lot. So basically, Glennon is about 2 years behind where Tyrod is if Glennon fails.
Gotcha.
If Glennon makes it, then everybody is happy.
Makes sense. Jason, good report, buddy. Appreciate you checking in from Indy. Thank you very much.
No problem. Anytime.
All right, brother.